So Tim turned up at the boats. It's quite a big bloke, actually. Well, I feel an awful lot better after that anyway. That was the medicine that we needed, I think, in a lot of ways. A really good performance, some endeavour, some attacking, just something for us to get behind. Everybody was happy. Left that stadium very, very happy. And it was a good day overall. Of course, not everybody, so they would say, not everybody entered the stadium happy. That is not true. So I went on the protest, I went on the march, the stroll, the picnic. Actually, there was no picnic, there was no food there at all. And it all went really, really well. And I actually think, and I've got to say this now, I'm going to talk about the match, by the way, but I want to just say this now because it's sort of almost been drip fed that it wasn't particularly a good thing, and it would maybe detract from the performance, detract from the atmosphere, and maybe the atmosphere would be toxic. In fact, there was a couple of comments from Carlton Cole, and we all love Carlton, and Carlton's got a lot of credit in the bank, but he was very much siding on the side of the owners rather than the fans. This one said he was disappointed to see the protest there and all that sort of thing. But I do think it added to the atmosphere because the songs, we started singing songs about an hour and a half before the game. And that carried on into the stadium. It was just a really, really good atmosphere in there. I think the players gave the fans something to cheer about. Hopefully, well, Mark Noble actually said when he walked onto the pitch that he could hear that Bubbles was a bit louder than normal and that sort of thing. So listen, hopefully everybody just understands that whilst these protests go on, doesn't mean that there's not going to be any support in the stadium. We saw it at Liverpool, good support. We saw it here. The team and the fans are as one. It's not really what the protests are about at all. But anyway, all that went really, really well, and we all got into the stadium, had a cracking game. And I'll tell you what, there were just a few performances I was absolutely delighted to see. We may have mentioned in the review about the four at the back. The four at the back has got to be the way to go. It seems to suit the players. They seem to know what they're doing. I've been a great advocate of sticking with one. I'm not saying you can't play with more than one formation, but give it time. You're a new manager coming in. The staff, he's only just brought all his staff together. He might have been there a couple of months. But even Kevin Nolan and what's his name? Paul Nevin, they've only been there 2 or 3 weeks. Stick to one formation. Keep it simple. If you're there next season, everything's gone well, we've stayed up. Develop. Work on a separate formation. One for home, one for away, whatever you want to do. But keep it simple at the moment. And I was so pleased he did that. And as Tony mentioned in our instant reaction video, now the stats are really quite clear. We perform a whole lot better with 4 at the back than 3 at the back. And you can tell we don't really have the personnel for 3 centre-backs because he's playing a left-back in there when he does so in Aaron Cresswell. And I also think poor old Cresswell, I think it confused him a little bit when they scored their first goal, their only goal. When they scored their only goal, they broke on us quickly and he was sort of stuck in no man's land, not sure whether to play left centre-back or left-back or whatever, and they did attack quickly. I didn't think it was a bad goal at all, actually. But it just goes to show that swapping the formation around doesn't help. Stick to it, and it does well. So anyway, so we got the 4 at the back. I thought that was key. If I'm truthful, I thought we were absolutely excellent in defence. I thought in midfield, with perhaps the exception of Declan Rice, we didn't really boss the midfield area totally, but I thought in attack we were absolutely potent. And I loved the 3 attackers. I've heard it mentioned a few times as like a 4-4-2. I never felt we were playing a 4-4-2. I felt it was very much a case of Bowen and Antonio staying wide, and as soon as we got the ball, either one of them running wide, the other one joining in the middle. So there was always at least 2 in the middle, and the Fornals would try and get up and join as much as he could. But the threat of having somebody close to Sebastian Haller was absolutely wonderful. And of course, Haller was, let's be fair, was involved in 2 of the goals, because in Antonio's goal there was a flick on. He was sort of instrumental in that as well, which was really good. It was just an all-round good performance. We knew he'd been good in the stadium, but then you get back and you watch the match of the day and the highlights on Sky and whatnot, and actually he looked really, really good. And lots of people have been saying it, that he needed support up there, and clearly he's not going to turn crap overnight. At Frankfurt, as many of you will know, as many of you have said, he played in a 3. He got lots of assists. He got lots of goals. No surprise to see him getting in on the action, supplying some stuff. He assisted his own goal, really, didn't he, of course? But Antonio put the ball over. But you get players near him, he's going to perform. Bowen just brought something else to the table. I don't just like what he did. You don't need me to tell you how he played. And I thought the goal was taken really, really well. And I think we'll see that goal again, by the way. And we'll certainly see that run again. I've said it enough times. You know what I think about him making the late runs. But I loved his attitude. I loved the things he was coming out and saying afterwards. And I think all in the build-up, he's got a sort of freshness in the way he's talking about West Ham. I do feel he's excited to be in the team and in the Premier League in particular. And I was worried when we signed him, and because we started talking to him the night before transfer deadline day, and it did drag on a little bit. But because they were insistent on putting this release clause in, and it's a buyout clause if we get relegated. So I think if we get relegated, then we basically get our money back and that's it. So whatever, we paid 20 million for him, someone comes in with 20 million, that's it. And I did wonder, I did worry a little bit that him signing that clause makes it almost as if he's signing to use us as a stepping stone. And not that I would blame him if he wants to make the step up and go up to the Premier League, and then all of a sudden he plays for 6 months in the Premier League, goes back down to the Championship. I don't blame him for wanting to go, but I did worry about almost his commitment to West Ham. Yes, I know what player is committed to a club these days. Of course, you know, those days are long gone. And by the time Mark Noble hangs up his boots, we're probably not going to see the likes of him again. But it still made me worried. I'm not worried anymore. Having listened to the way he's interviewed, having listened to a lot of the things he said, I really like it. I think he's like a little boy at Christmas in many respects. He's wide-eyed. He can't believe he's playing in it. He's excited. You almost get the impression he's just pleased to be there, and he's going to give it 100%. And let's be fair, just those two things that I said, being pleased to be there and just giving it 100%, they're not necessarily things that we associate. I mean, let's be fair, we've had a lot of players this season who didn't really look like they were putting any effort in. They might try a trick, might try a drag back, like Felipe Anderson the other game, but not really be asked. You know, didn't really try and attack us, but couldn't really be bothered to put the effort in and do it. Techers. So Bowen, on this occasion, to be pleased to be there and to put in 100%, I thought was magnificent. Antonio, I loved this. What I loved about Antonio was it wasn't like he was waiting for reinforcements and come the end when the reinforcements came on, he was then knackered. He had reinforcements with him from the very, very start. And I think we've got to really hope with Moyes that he gets his tactics absolutely spot on, and gets his team selection, more importantly, spot on from the start, because he is slow to make substitutions. But I think it gives us a little glimmer of hope as well. Heller, we've spoken about. Oh, sorry, I should probably mention Paulo Fornals as well, because I thought that was really good. I've seen some comments attributed to David Moyes about Paulo Fornals, but I don't think I'm going to read them out, because I'm so paranoid that I'm being tricked. It might not be his comments or something like that, a naughty fake Carlton Cole and all these stuff. So I'm saying nothing, right? But anyway, I felt that he was mildly impressed, let's say. David Moyes was mildly impressed. It almost seems as if Fornals has got to do twice as much as anybody else to impress Moyes. I think Moyes wants to play Lanzini in there, and I can understand why, because Lanzini and Arnautovic last time worked for him. He's seen Lanzini work well. So I would understand why coming in he would gravitate more towards Lanzini, who he's already worked with, rather than Fornals, who he doesn't know. And let's be fair, Fornals is a little bit slow and probably not he's not an athlete, is he? So I think Fornals is having to do twice as much as anybody else to impress himself on Moyes. But you look at it now, and you look at the geezer, and he is providing goals and he is providing assists. And I think if we can continue to play in this way that we're playing, if we can continue to keep this team, and I'm very mindful when I say this, particularly what I'm about to do now, which is talk about putting Soucek in there and making up an ideal 11. You never get to play that 11. You just don't. And the reason you don't ever get to play that 11 is because, fine, Soucek gets injured. Sorchek gets fit and comes back. Declan Rice gets injured, whatever, Antonio's injured. We're not going to have everybody fit all the time, whatever your dream team might be at the moment. So my chosen 11 at the moment would be exactly what we just saw, but I would probably take Mark Noble out and put Sorchek in there. If that is my chosen 11, your one might be different. How many times are you going to get to see that? All those 11 players fit throughout the season? You're probably not. It's probably only going to be 5 or 6 times when all of that same combination are available. As I say, 5 or 6 times. It's not happened very often. What is the key is what happened yesterday, that when Sorchek is out, Noble's in and does something. Let's say that Antonio next time is out. Then Felipe Anderson has to come in and do something, but we stick with a formation, we stick with a 3, we stick with people close up to Sebastian Haller, and you know what, we might have half a chance. It doesn't help Watford doing all of that. I think we are out of the bottom 3 as it stands, but we got to carry it on, and I'm really glad that we've done that, and also with that extra bit of confidence that we showed against Liverpool. I do wonder if we almost gave a little blueprint to Watford there to go and do what they did, because, and I say a blueprint, I think maybe West Ham showed that Liverpool were beatable by, well, you could say Atletico Madrid showed that, but by a lesser team, and West Ham are a lesser team, and as are Watford, and Watford maybe looked at that and thought, hold on, we can have a go as well. But with the confidence that we've picked up from that, and the confidence from a win against Southampton, and a good Southampton team who are doing well, Southampton will pick up more points between now and the end of the season. I think we go into the Arsenal game and we have a go, because they've just been knocked out of the whatever it is, the Europa Cup or whatever it's called these days. They've been knocked out of that by Olympiacos. They're going to be feeling a little bit down on themselves, and you know what? They got David Moyes at the back, and I think one of our front 3 guys, Antonio, Sebastian Haller, Jarrod Bowen. I fancy one, or maybe even all 3 can do something against him. And let's be fair, you look at that, we've had Bowen score, we've had Haller score, we've had Antonio score. That's got to be great. And that's a front 3. I think we're going to enjoy the rest of the week and look forward to it with confidence. Wrap them up in cotton wool, that's all I say.